a key topic that I want to talk about is marital rape.
Okay.
You spoke about rape in general. How does the dynamics of healing and growth change if it's your partner, your life partner who has raped you? And again, additional question, do we also see cases of women raping men here?
Yeah. Excellent question. Very hard question, and will be a different answer from the legal point of view.
Okay, you can give both.
Tangent is that I worked in rape crisis for around 7 years in Chicago. I was working as a rape crisis therapist only in Chicago for a very long time and studying it. In the US, Ranveer, let's start there. There is a binary around funding. Funding goes towards political causes that you agree with. Funding does not go towards political causes you don't agree with. So I was working for a lovely organization that was survivor focused. Now, survivor focused means if you have survived rape, assault. Different from reality though. Sometimes people who survive things also end up perpetrating things. Right? It's a cycle of abuse. Like if it happened to me, I may do it to you. I may do it to somebody else. I may not. But sometimes if I'm unconscious and I'm in that cycle, whatever happened to me, I will repeat it. Whatever happened to me, I'll repeat it. So now this gets very complex because now if I'm married and I'm in love and this person really also loves me and my cycle of abuse is just repeating unconsciously. As the perpetrator, I may not realize what I have done because I think, oh, it's part of this journey of growth that I'm having with my partner. I did this once, but I will not do it again, or it happened, etc. On the end of the receiver, it is extremely, extremely traumatizing because the one person that was supposed to be safe for you, especially ideologically for your entire life, like the idea of that my wife is my safe person, my husband's my safe person, which is why they're my life partner, when they force themselves on me and don't wait for me to say anything. So how does rape play out? Just to go into it, very classic example, foreplay is happening, I'm not asking you, I am turned on, I am putting my body on your body, whichever part. You are kind of a little bit uncomfortable, but you're not able to tell me fully stop. Many reasons for this. Maybe you're a slightly submissive person. Maybe you don't know your body well. Maybe you just are in love with me and you think this is normal. Maybe you have always experienced sex which is forceful and violent. So you don't know that it's supposed to actually be paced and I should ask you, etc. Many reasons why I don't ask you to stop. But I'm visibly uncomfortable. And I am just interested in finishing the experience for me. Okay, so I go at it. Now let's look at men. If the man is a perpetrator or anybody with a penis is a perpetrator, I'm forcing, I'm ejaculating. Then I'm turning around, going to sleep. Not even checking with you. How did you feel? Are you okay? Forget it. No, this was for me, so just shut up, kind of thing. This is a very violent and very textbook example I'm using of a man being the perpetrator, the husband. Now, if it's the woman being the perpetrator and she's the wife, she's using the same position that she uses generally that two lovers use. Maybe it's the missionary or maybe it's like sitting on top of him, whatever she likes. She's not waiting for him to say, yes, no, I'm not okay. Maybe he's squirming a little bit under her and he's saying, no, actually, I'm not in the mood for it. And she just goes, you're never in the mood for it. What's wrong with you? Let me just push you a little bit. No, it's okay. You'll enjoy it. Once we do it, you'll enjoy it. Okay, ha, 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 he. And then suddenly it becomes really painful because that she's really forcing herself and she's turned on. She wants to finish her orgasm. He's actually flashbacking into the help who did that or the driver who came in his mouth, or he's flashbacking. He's actually not able to say that I hate this or you're drunk. Stop. I don't want to have drunk sex with you. Because it's considered normal in a healthy marriage that, your partner can't be unsafe, right? Your partner actually loves you. So everything your partner does is kind of okay. So going back to the legal point of it, this is very hard to prove. These nuances are very hard to prove in court. They are very hard to prove with police cases. They are very hard to prove with advocates, lawyers, because the law is looking for more concrete evidence like scar and consent and how many times. And so obviously you don't put a camera in your bedroom, right? Like, so this is the difficulty of reporting. In India, it is more severe because in terms of being unable to report, because this is not even considered a possibility in mainstream Indian culture, that marital rape is even a possibility. I would say that's the legal perspective with a little bit of a psychological perspective. I just want to take it a little further to your question of healing. Healing, I would say, Ranveer, if I could write like 10 books and like somebody could just like dictate it off of, like they could just like write it for me, I think I would be able to do so much justice to it, because there are just so many nuances in the healing aspect of this, of marital rape.
Broadly also classified into, did this end in a divorce or separation, or did they stay together?
I know. And such a polarized binary perspective, because the reality of that is not so simple, yaar. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to be loved. At the core of it, I want to be loved. I've been loving you for 10 years. You've done something and you have possibly always been like this, and I just ignored it. And one day I listened to Neha Bhatt's podcast and I realized marital rape is a thing. And it triggers me, especially because Ranveer is being so empathetic, it triggers me that my husband's not like this. And suddenly I realize, wow, I'm literally living with an abuser. I am not going to just get up and leave. Because at the core of it, I have children, I have a family, I have in-laws, I'm invested in this man is invested in me, and he's an abuser. These are the realities of abusive relationships, interpersonal abusive relationships, which have sexual violence within them. That's why the healing is again very contextualized. One couple may want to be together. Now the therapist has to be qualified to not bring their own projections in it and say, you should leave, the best thing is to do is leave. May not be, Ranveer. I'm not paying their rent. I don't know what it's like. I need to listen to them. Now, but it's the conflict is there. Like, does it mean I just allow this to continue under my gaze, right? Under my healing gaze? No. The job of the good therapist is to de-escalate and ensure that at least my clients know that this is unacceptable and cannot keep repeating. Now, after that point, do they stay together or do they leave is something that I cannot control. No system can control. Unless there are children. When there are children, the law has more of authority to say this is what's good for the child, this is what's not good for the child. But the reality is many of these cases go underreported. We spoke about why. So it remains in this grey binary area. Now, how it moves into deeper into healing is child grows up in an environment like this, where they're hearing these episodes every night or every couple of nights where your parents are not happy with each other. You can see that there is a kind of forceful, a visceral dislike of each other. But yet you're sleeping in the same room. Yet they are coming to parent-teachers meeting together. And you're growing up with this idea that this is what a normal relationship is. Okay. And somewhere, because children are like sponges, they're extremely smart, very perceptive, always mirroring their parents. Remember, children never listen to their parents. They are always mirroring. In fact, Sadhguru said this so many times, because I love what he says about this topic. They're always mirroring what the adults are doing in the room. So they're growing up with this kind of like intense idea, the idea that intense dislike of each other is normal, marriage ends up like this, somebody hurts somebody, life is like this, life is like this. Do you think that person is, if they're not in an inner workspace, do you think that person is ever going to change their beliefs about this, right? Where are they going to take that belief out? Onto their partner. This is where we then hear people saying, I'm just like my dad. I thought I was not, but actually I've ended up doing this exactly. So again, coming to the healing part, very, very nuanced. Not every therapist should be putting their own projections, but we do. And then the healing changes according to who you get as a therapist.
What's the common outcome that you see when marital rape is involved? Like practically in real human society, what ends up happening?
People not leaving. I see mostly the situation being that, okay, I'm going to cry about it. I'm going to really regret that it happened to me. But at the end of the day, is it such a big deal? Because police is also asking for evidence. I don't have that evidence.
But does the situation get corrected?
No. I would say commonly no. I would say it is the rare 0.1% of cases that do get corrected. Commonly, it is more normalized, Ranveer. See, change is a very difficult thing. And we have to understand this as depth people, like people who think deeply about the world, that it will not happen quickly because it requires a lot of ego investment to be different from who you were yesterday or different from who you were last minute. For me to really listen to you and connect to who you are today, I have to be egoless, you have to be egoless. We have to keep our knowledge aside and just connect as two individuals. That's when we're going to have a great conversation, right? This is difficult. This is not easy. I have to really work on myself to come to this conscious relationship with myself, my triggers, my past, my future. Then my wife has to do the same thing. The reality of life is most people are still very much struggling for basics. So most people end up prioritizing the basics, which is, do we have rent? Are our kids in school? Then I will suffer. Typically what happens is the woman ends up taking a lot of shame. The man goes into avoidance.
Could there be a couple watching this podcast together, listening to this and saying, hey, that's our reality, and then switching up and having a conversation at least?
I would say so. I mean, that's the 0.1%.
So as a therapist, what would your advice to them be?
That read self-help books that are based, and I'm not just saying my book, but read material, increase your knowledge base on abusive dynamics. So don't just believe the one thing that you saw. Think deeply. Go towards 4-5 books. Sit with now if both people are really conscious, both people can do this. There are so many books and films today that are available on this dynamic. Go into it a little. See, I'm a depth person, so I'll always give these deep type of things. Maybe people will not like it. I don't know. But get into kind of watching with your partner, watching a show on this, watching, like reading a book together, listening to another podcast, listening to the podcast again, making notes. So my book, I've designed it for people to write like the journal. There are questions, answers. It's like a workbook form. So people can actually go into like, what age did this memory come up? Now tell your partner this. And partners doing the same. So especially if you cannot access couples therapy, which is again why I've wrote this, that not everyone can afford a therapist like me. Somebody trained, somebody with experience abroad. We also have run our practices. We also have to help ourselves. So we cannot do free therapy. But there is so much need. So what ends up happening is that most people choose the middle ground, like some self-help, some professional help. If you can do at least that much, that you can go into 5 self-help books and maybe tell your current therapist, if you are already in therapy, hey, this came up, I heard this thing and it really triggered me and my partner, that are we like this together? I would say that is so amazing. That is way more than most people will ever get.
Self-observation.
100%. And also, I would say, third step is ask your friends if they have experienced this in their dynamic, especially people who are in long-term relationships with each other. Do not ask your single friends that, because they will not have experience. Do not ask single yogis. Ask grahastha yogis, people who have relational experiences. What has that been like for them? And then map it. Some people will say, no, it doesn't work at all. Like nothing, I've never had this issue in my marriage, etc. Most people who, if you're very good friends and people who are authentic, will name not abuse or rape, but at least one instance of boundary crossing. And boundary crossing is not the same as rape. We are crossing each other's boundaries now. As we interrupt each other, as we think, you're saying something, it's normal. But it shouldn't become abusive, where I'm doing that to gain power over you, or you're doing that to prove to me that you're so amazing and I should only listen to you, and then all the money is with you and I'm your slave. Okay, that is where it goes wrong. But normal boundary crossing is, I do something, Ranveer gets upset, Ranveer comes back to Neha and says, you did that thing, I didn't like it. And Neha is regulated enough to be able to listen to Ranveer and say, okay, I don't like that I did that, like I'm a little defensive. Normal, defensiveness is normal, but after 2 minutes, okay, tell me what I did. Okay. Now, if it's happening 5 times and Neha is still not changing, that's when it's getting into difficult territory.
They say roasting is a love language.
Right.
Now that roasting is a love language thing can easily become uncomfortable for the person who's being roasted. So, eventually I had to reach a point where I realized that you have to be very observant about your partner and understand the things that piss them off and also the things that trigger them slightly.
Right.
Like deep levels of empathy. But again, this comes from a place of wanting to give your partner the best possible reality.
True.
Which I don't know, if that's a
Goal
concept.
for people.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Goal for a lot of people. And again, I'm talking about being a boy. I'm sure it works the other way as well. Like,
absolutely.
I'm sure girls also sometimes need to look out for the opposite version of this.
Absolutely.